What does it mean to be good? Does it mean obedience to the law? Does it mean being a nice person? Does it mean being good in comparison to others? The Old Testament talks about God's people rejoicing, enjoying, reveling in, and celebrating God's goodness. What they were delighting in is God's purity and his abundant generosity. He's always purely good in his character. He's never bad, never evil, unlike men, unlike the false gods of the nations around them. And he's always good in his generous provision to us, to his people. So we bear witness to God's goodness when we are abundantly generous, like God, and when we avoid becoming complainers because we trust him. When we remember that God is always good, and he gives us good things, and he knows what's best for us, we are less likely to complain about our circumstances or frustrations. Proverbs 11 says, "With their mouths the godless destroy their neighbors, but through knowledge the righteous escape." That's verse 9. It also says, "Whoever derides their neighbor has no sense, but the one who has understanding holds their tongue." And that's verse 12. This world is hard, it's broken, it's frustrating. Your office is that way, your family's that way, your church, your neighborhood are that way. And God told us in Genesis 3 that work, in particular, would become toilsome because of Adam and Eve's original sin. So trusting in God's goodness doesn't mean you don't experience those problems, those frustrations and challenges. What it means is that you remind yourself of who's in control and of his love for you, regardless of what you're experiencing right now. Because of that, because of him, you're less likely to get riled up and you're more likely to be at peace. When we trust his goodness, we don't ignore problems, but we try to address them directly, with professionalism and appropriately. We avoid pulling others into our negativity by complaining, because if God is so good, and he is, then there's always a bigger story than our immediate problems and concerns. So we don't become complainers. Instead, we give freely of ourselves. This is from Proverbs 11 again in verses 24 through 26. It says, "One person gives freely, yet gains even more. Another withholds unduly, but comes to poverty. A generous person will prosper. Whoever refreshes others will be refreshed. People curse the one who hoards grain, but they pray God's blessing on the one who is willing to sell." Demonstrating God's goodness means we don't hoard what we have. We aren't territorial. We don't jealously guard our positions or our status or expertise. Instead, we freely offer our time, attention, wisdom, experience. We look for opportunities to bless and equip and empower others at work. We don't worry about our job security. That's in God's hands, but we seek the success and growth of others freely, with no strings attached. This is what God does. He gives and is never diminished by it. And that's what Proverbs says as well. If we give, we will prosper. We'll be blessed, we'll be refreshed, and we can give freely and sacrificially because we trust that he is a good father and he delights in giving good gifts to his children.